Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Yes, and this time it's not evolutionary, it's not EEARTS. No, we're doing one on Heart's Home. And this is one that we've been talking about for a few days, I think, and we've talked about it actually many times, talking at greater length about a couple of our friendly acquaintances.
Indeed, they are friendly acquaintances and they really, really like to help people.
Yeah, so why do we have a picture of a graveyard up? Well, because we want to let you know about two people. Yes, they are people, even though they're no longer in the body. One of them you may have heard me mention before. His name is Butch. We call him Butch. He appears kind of like a farmer, definitely an older gentleman, nice guy, a real nice guy to do what he's doing. And he is somebody that, for the most part, he jumps back and forth between a couple different cemeteries. Now Butch is not in body. Butch is what you would call a ghost. But again, 3D, 4D is really, it's two sides of the same coin. So, it's really the same being, just embodied or not embodied. And so Butch is no longer embodied. But what he has decided to do, instead of moving on and planning his next incarnation, or perhaps if he wanted to ascend up to 5D, deciding to do that, instead he hangs out around a couple of the local graveyards and he welcomes people that are confused when they are newly deceased.
Mm-hmm. And we kind of ran across Butch, I think it was last winter. It was the strangest thing. It's almost like he collided with my body, and I woke up and I was yelling, "Follow me! Come on, guys, follow me!" And Mike says, "Okay, who are you?" "I'm Butch. How did I get here?" It was really strange. It was quite comical because Mike woke up to somebody named Butch. Yeah. So that was really kind of awkward, and we discovered since then Butch is a very kind soul that hangs out at the graveyard, and he assists souls out of the graveyard because sometimes they do get stuck with the body, and can be a very traumatic experience. So it's something that he likes to do. I think people wonder about the afterlife and, is it anything like this life? In so many ways, yes, because you can really create your surroundings, you have a wider perceptive ability of things, but you can no longer do things that are in this 3D body. So you might miss out on doing things like cooking breakfast, enjoying a hot shower. Sure, you miss out on those things, but you still know a whole lot of other things. So sometimes when people pass away, they really get attached to the body because they want to remain in their 3D realm. Of course, they would want to be able to talk to the people and give them comfort and say, "I'm here, I'm here, I'm here," but they can't. So all of this processes, when it comes to transitioning, depending on where people are at the time of death, they usually take with them a lot of the fears that they had in life. So these are beings that are at the graveyard that definitely help those who might be stuck with the body or trying to figure out what is going on. They are counselors of sorts.
Yeah, absolutely. And so recently, as we were in the process of moving, we were going by another graveyard, and then something triggered me, and I had to say to Cindy, "Do you see anybody over in that graveyard doing what Butch does?" And she said, "Well, yes, actually I do." And then she described her, and I said, "Well, let's call her Crystal." And because she's very similar to Butch, different personalities, because we all have different personalities. The personality is still something that is with us whether we're in body or out of body. And she does the same thing. She hangs around, and she just basically welcomes people and tries to console them, because sometimes they are grief stricken, sometimes they it all depends on the circumstances of how you pass on. But in some ways, you could truly call these two people angels because they are doing basically a service to humanity. And again, probably the most widely experienced thing is confusion. When you cross over, you're just trying to figure out what the heck happened. So they are there for them. And there's probably people all over the world doing the same thing, choosing not to move on from their own position, not go on with their own agenda and their own new experiences, but choosing to help others. And so this is, it's fascinating, really, in so many ways. And it is hilarious when Butch came into Cindy's body because, Cindy being a channel as she is, one thing that we learned is like when she's out of the body, if a being gets really close to her, it's almost like there's a pull, like there's a vacuum, a suction. And so, all of a sudden, Cindy's voice changes to, "Hey guys," it's like deep and manly and stuff. And she's like feeling the body, and he's feeling the body, and he's like, "Huh, I'm in here." It's almost like he's gonna say, "I'm a girl," and he's stunned, and he's trying to figure out what happened. And he saw bright lights. He was drawn to the lights. He was curious, and the lights are our light bodies, our Merkabas, because most people don't have the upper chakras really illuminated. We look a little different, but many of the people that we work on energy-wise, they're the same. Because they're now fully activated, their chakras are fully functioning, and they're bright. They're bright lights in a world of dim lights, and so this will draw curiosity from many types of beings. Humans that have passed on, as well as all sorts of other beings. This is why we've had so many contacts with extraterrestrials and cryptids, because our light sticks out, they get curious, and they come take a peek.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we actively work on our energy bodies and light bodies in the line of work that we're in. We work on that daily. You need to. You have to keep it clean. Got to keep the energies clean, because in so many ways you kind of are a magnet. They are drawn to you like a moth to flame, so you have to keep things constantly cleared out. But I feel these beings are very special, the ones that work at the graveyards and offer their assistance, because it's not only those that have crossed over that they counsel live people too. And the people who are there that are alive might not understand what's going on, but they are getting a form of healing. They are getting a form of comfort from these other beings that choose to stay in the graveyards and just work there and help people make that separation, to help them readjust, because you never really get over somebody passing away in the 3D. It's like you have to readjust, you have to reassert. It's like suddenly there is a vacuum created, and you might feel a very big silence. There's a silence type of feeling to it when somebody you love passes away in 3D. So that vacuum needs to be filled in, and sometimes that just takes a lot of love, a lot of time, a lot of patience. And you can also see these beings, like if they were in the 3D, they would be like counselors, they would be therapists, they'd probably do things like Mike and I do.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you ever felt like there's somebody watching you in a graveyard, there probably is, because again, these beings, often many beings will hang around their bodies. They don't know what else to do. Again, a lot of people do get greeted by their guides and are kind of eased into the situation, come to the realization of what happened, and start to process things. Then taking a period of time, even though there is no time on that side per se, to go through and process all the events of your life. Yes, you have a life review. You can review your life, but who's going to judge you? Well, ultimately, you're kind of judging yourself, is really what it's all about. It's like, geez, then you realize, well, why did I come in here? Oh, yeah, I wanted to learn about this. I wanted to experience that. oh boy, I got waylaid over here. Yeah, shoot, I'm gonna have to revisit this next time. That's really what happens, and we go through this process. And I bring up some of the same old thoughts because, again, these are things that I've gone through, so I could share them with you. When my mom died, again, she died January 2020. Plague Upon the Land was just coming out, and I do think she didn't want to participate in all this chaos that the world's been in during the last 3 years now. After dying, initially, she was all kind of, it seemed like she was gung-ho about coming back again. And, initially when she got out of the body, she was happy as can be because, her body was 90 years old and she had hip problems getting around. And this is somebody that always walked miles. Even at 80 years old, she would get out and walk like 2 miles a day. So she was so happy to be out of the body and to be able to move around at will and just, get around at ease. And then she was thinking about coming back somewhere in Asia because, she never left hardly ever left New England or New York. And, get around and explore maybe in the next life. But then she decided basically to be more of a angel per se and ascend up into fifth density. And so it took her really like, almost 3 full years to come to that decision of our time here. And initially she was thinking along different lines. So, my 2 grandfathers, they've both been gone for 64 years. And they're still not reincarnated because they're actually waiting for me. So they're waiting for me before we all get together and decide what's going to be happening next. There is so much more to our consciousness and this and all the journeys that we end up taking. Again, these incarnations are really just, whether you want to view them as a chapter in the life of the soul, perhaps it's just a single page in an enormous tomb of books.
That's right. And every life that we're working on now is actually preparation for whatever we do next, because all of the things that we encapsulate and we embrace, all of the meditations, the mantras, the self-love, and even all the traumas are in so many ways getting us prepared for the next life, whatever we choose to do next. Sometimes after people pass away or transition, I'll have people contact me wanting to know, okay, what's going on, and I can channel into that person's energy and give an idea. Okay, they're confused, they're stuck, they're this, they're that. But what's really important, if you do know someone that you dearly love has transitioned, is the conversation that you think that you're having with yourself. You're not. You're speaking to them, and they need to hear from you. They need your strength as well as, some understanding from what's going on, because it can be a very difficult transition to move from 3D out of. But the other thing I think that they find to be such a huge relief is, oh, I'm still here. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't blow out like a candle. I'm right here. So there's a lot going on, and there are so many benevolent, beautiful beings out there in 3D on up that are willing to lend their time, their patience, their energy, their healing, and assist those who are going through these transitions.
Yeah, and so, what Butch was doing before, like when he made his entrance and said, "Come on, guys, follow me," he's trying to teach them how to fly. You don't have to walk anymore. You don't have to try to open the door. And you don't even have to appear as a human. You could just be an orb, a ball of light. Again, initially, people tend to take the form of what they were used to. So they will look kind of like themselves, they'll have a human type of shape. Over time, on the other side, you will basically end up being more what we would call a spirit orb, and just you're traveling by the use of what will still feel to you to be your pineal gland. and you just think, well, whatever, San Francisco, think London, think the moon, and you go there. And that's all it is. It's just that easy. You will find yourself flying there. And so he's teaching these spirits to let go of 3D habits, because you don't have to apply to them anymore. You can just simply, if you want to go check out what's on the top of that tree or top of that mountain, just think it and you'll go. And you'll be able to do it. And so I remember years ago when I was meditating regularly, and maybe I was, 5 to 10 years into a regular practice, all of a sudden at night I was seeing orbs at dusk everywhere, traveling all over the place, and they were everywhere. They were going from tree to tree, mostly either white orbs or silvery gray, as I think Sita knocked something over in there. But I would see them every night. It was just so commonplace to see them. As we look at some of these photos from graveyards and, different beings that have appeared. And, again, you can see some lights. Orbs are very, very common, because there are more disembodied beings than there are embodied beings. It's pretty simple. That's just the way things are. And, some people can see the things that are being pointed out right away, and others, it's not so easy to see these things. But we wanted to just let you know, again, it's different when we're out of the body, but at the same time, there are some things that are really not so different. And, as my mother, when she was first showing up, she was coming in her nightgown like she was used to wearing, and didn't even know that she could just think herself to be in a beautiful new dress. She didn't have to appear to be 90 years old anymore. She could go back to being 25 years old or 18 years old. Any age you want, because, again, it's all just basically a construct of the consciousness.
I mean, things are, in so many ways, they are set up as above, so below. So we see down here, we have schools, we have educational systems, we have volunteer work, we have people who want to just simply give of themselves and help those that are not as privileged, or those that just truly do need help. The structure remains the same, but the physics part of things is a lot different.
Absolutely. And so another thing that can make the transition easier is a regular meditative practice. And when you look to the tradition of the Buddhist monks that practice and attain the rainbow body, when they decide it's time for them to go, they just simply enter a meditative state and leave the body. And some of these bodies don't corrupt. Other ones dissolve into tiny little, small little, when you realize the body is mostly vacuum, there's really not that much material there per se. The water aspect goes off into the atmosphere, and there's not much left. And sometimes there's only eyelashes and hair, and sometimes there's nothing left. Again, they choose when they want to go, and this is just a conscious decision. We have a lot more control over our lives now. It's written that in the golden age, that's exactly how it is for humans. They just decide when they want to let go of the existence, and that's even when we're talking a higher density experience, because we exist all the way up to source. As far as these different densities are, they truly, I don't know where the limit is. There's, again, many mansions, many worlds, so many different dimensions and densities, and it truly is infinite. And the thing to take from it, though, is that, truly the consciousness is what we are, and that is eternal.
Mm-hmm. And the limits are, they're in our mind, but that's still okay, because they need to be limited for us to have certain expansion. So without limitations, you can't have expansion.
Absolutely. And so for me, it's been a blessing. Yeah, it's been many decades of regular practice with meditation, with Qigong, mantras, energy work like Reiki and Pranic healing, and the like, and then also many lifetimes where that's all I did, and so yeah, I'm blessed to have Cindy to help bring more clarity to what I had gotten before personally in glimpses of past lives. And, now being able to control things when you are in that 4D and, being able to go and glimpse the Earth from basically being, up there where the satellites are and looking back down on the Earth as you astral project. And, it's quite an experience to be out of body in a controlled way. But, the Irish have a term for it. They call it out and about, literally. And they recognized it. And it's interesting, too. This is really like a totally different subject. But when there was some Celtic knotwork that came up, and Cindy was pointing out, saying, that's actually Pleiadian. The Celtic knotwork is actually Pleiadian.
It is, and I thought that was curious too, how that symbolism is used all over. But it's like, where do things come from? Well, in the Celtic sense, it comes from Pleiades.
Yeah, again, that's our celestial roots. So as always, guys, thanks for being part of this family. We love you guys. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.